Awesome. All right, it's 4 o'clock, at least here in Melbourne. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I am really excited for this event. I feel like I've never heard from all of you brainy people on something that is non technical. Hopefully, this will be something really new that we'll bring to the table. Might do something similar later if there's more interest in it. Um, so, thank you for joining. We are on time. We have 12 presenters, all joining from all different parts of the world. There is night, there is early morning, there is evening, all on the screen at the moment. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you for your time and your support for Marketing Cloud Developers Group. Uh, Matt, do you want to talk about the blog?
I sure do. Thanks for giving me that quick opportunity now to do that. For anyone that's on the call and you're watching what these people in the community are doing with sharing content, there's an easy way to get started, and that's to contribute on the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Developers Group blog, which is www.sfmcdg.org, and we'll help you through getting some content shared. It's not hard. Plenty of guidance available, and we'll get you started. So we'll share that screen at the end again, but just a great way to get started. Thanks, Rishma.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, I will get Greg's pre recorded video. Obviously, it is not a good time in his time zone, so he has provided a pre recorded video for his share.
Hello, everyone. I am Greg Gifford, Salesforce MVP, Hall of Fame, marketing champion, founder of How to SFMC, and author of Automating Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I wanted to spend a few minutes here answering a few questions around content creation and my experience with it. And also, just for fun on this, I created every image in this presentation using generative AI. So, first question is, when did you start sharing content? So originally, I started sharing the content in Salesforce Stack Exchange back in 2014. This was my first foray into it. I really was on Stack Exchange probably a couple of years before then, but it was more of like a leash role, like more of grabbing the content, not really directly interacting. But 2014 was around when I started posting more questions and answers and uh, contributing more. That's where I started using my alias Gord Tonington, and even a couple of years after that, I continued doing that, and that's when I started pushing things into like my blog and different articles and speaking events and all of that. And even then, I still mostly used my alias instead of my real name. But that's when I started pushing more towards attaching it to my real name. That allowed me to kind of build up confidence in myself and my capabilities prior to pushing and exposing me openly to the community. Next, what were some of my fears? So, failure. Failure is and always will be the biggest fear I have. I am always an advocate to not let failure stop you from doing anything and to keep moving forward. But it is always my greatest worry in anything I do. The more you do, the more you're able to embrace this fear and the more you can live with it and work through it. But it never really goes away. The other fear that always sticks with me is imposter syndrome. Even with a list of accomplishments, when I enter a room with so many other talented people, I instantly think, what am I doing here? Did someone make a mistake with the invite? And it takes a lot to get past that. It is something that has stuck with me since I started and still sticks with me today. I just have learned some coping skills to help deal with it. The best advice I've heard relating to this is actually a quote from a book I read and is actually from a fantasy novel and not some like cool self-help book. And the quote is, once you've got a task to do, it's better to do it than live with the fear of it. Essentially, the more you think on it and dwell on the what if I'm not good enough or what if I don't do it right, the worse it is going to be. So might as well just do it now and get it done. Next question. Do you get negative comments or reviews? Well, I feel like negativity is a big part of success until someone has told you that you suck. You haven't really quote unquote made it. And I'm kind of kidding there, but seriously, negativity is all over the world, and some of it is best avoided but some of it is best heard. If you do not listen to your quote unquote haters, then how do you know what you potentially are doing wrong? How do you know what those that think differently than you are doing or feeling? You need other viewpoints to remain at the top of your game. So by ignoring those that are giving their viewpoints to you for free, you're actually hindering yourself. Use the negative feedback to learn and grow. Do not let it get you down and do not take it personally. Just take it and use it to make you better and to help make your message stronger and more effective. What's the biggest learning as a creator? This one was one that I had to learn the hard way, and that is taking a break. I took on way too much when I was writing my book, and I crashed really hard. I decided during a time when work was already insanely hard, and during a time that I was really active in the community to also take on writing a book on top of all of that. And then we had the wonderful pandemic situation happen on top of all of that. Well, all this was going on, and it was a lot to take in and a lot to deal with. And then after writing the book, I thought that for sure I could finally start to take a breath of fresh air, not realizing that after a book is written does not mean that all of the activity of the book is done. And there was all of the different things I have to do to try and push the book out there and all the different events and stuff that has to be done to go and out there and let people know about it and market it, all that. So there was a lot of extras that were done that kept pushing me to one more thing here, one more thing there. And after that was done, it really left me in a place that it took me almost a full year and a half before I was able to recover and be able to get into a better mental state. So it helped me to realize that another 30 minutes or that one more article is not being driven. It's actually unhealthy. You need to listen to your body and realize that an extra day of rest or even just an extra few hours of going and doing something else will not make that article or that work any less successful or impactful, but it will mean a heck of a lot to you, and it'll make your health and your mental health a lot better. So on that note, thank you everyone for listening and to my thoughts, my ramblings. I hope you got something from them and enjoyed them. Good luck to you, all the existing and future content creators, and for your future and continued success. Thank you so much.
Right. Thanking Greg. Moving on to Match's video.
Ahoy, my name is Mateusz. I'm Marketing Cloud Architect, Salesforce MVP, and Marketing Champion. I wrote my first Marketing Cloud article in 2020, few months after I started my Salesforce journey in PwC. I found writing to be the best way to quickly learn deeply. When you are listening or reading, it's easy to think, I understand it. But once you start to create, you see that there are still a lot of missing spots in your knowledge. For me, building and writing are a perfect match. Building tells me how, while writing focuses on the why. And publishing that content to the public means that you have to do the due diligence to make sure you are correct. That's, by the way, a big problem with the current wave of AI. GPTs are awesome tools that can help you a lot with the content creation. They can help you with ideas, content structure, grammar, code quality. Learn them and use them. Just make sure that you are not abusing the technology by generating the whole misleading and valueless articles that waste time of the community, introduce best practices, or ruin your own brand. On the other hand, don't overthink the content creation. The best idea is the problem that you had to solve because there was no documentation or content covering it. The best channel is the one you are already using. The best form is the one you feel most comfortable with. Start small and be okay with keeping it small. I am checking out other channels, Twitter, newsletter, video, from time to time, but I feel most comfortable with my website, LinkedIn, and Trailblazer community. And that's okay. Content creation won't be whole career for us. It's just a bonus on top of our normal work. We don't have to go overboard with the content creation strategy, as it's easy to burn out. So just do it. Take the last problem you solved, describe it however you like, publish it whenever you want, see how it brings value to the community, and decide whether you want to do it more for the community and, in the first place, for you.
Elliot, please take it away.
Thank you. Do you want to go to the next slide? How's it on there? Hi, yes. So we've had some great tips so far. I'm Elliot Harper. I'm a principal architect, MVP Hall of Fame. I've written a few books on Marketing Cloud and more recently on Data Cloud. I thought I'd slip in a shameless plug for my latest book. Get your copy at datacloudbook.com. It's the Salesforce Data Cloud Architect Handbook. So I'd like to spend just a few minutes explaining why I create content and how you can too. So if you're unfamiliar with my content, check out my video blog at mc.chat, but please wait until the end of the session. So I publish both written content and video, but today I'd like specifically to talk about video content, as I feel there's not enough of it in the community, and it's actually a highly effective and engaging channel. So before I do that, let me talk to this tip that we see here, and that is, well, when I create video content, I'm not just speaking off the cuff. I've already planned what I'm going to say and my content structure. You know, I've got an authored a script, and while I might be staring down the barrel of a camera, I'm actually reading off a teleprompter. So got all my secrets coming out now. And even though I've planned exactly what I'm going to say, I actually have multiple takes before I have content that I can use. As something you say the fifth time will always sound better than the first. And then I spend hours in post-production, stitching everything together and creating captions, which I think on a side note is important, as up to 85% of social media videos are played with no sound. So the majority of your viewers will be watching your videos like a silent film. So anyway, I actually really enjoy and share my content because I like creating quality content that solves a problem my audience has. And I have nothing for sale. It's just all about building trust with great content that delivers pure value for viewers. But remember, you know, the video is really just a container for delivering content. You still need to create content that's relevant to your audience. And I have 3 criteria for selecting topics, and that's topics that are interesting, engaging, and valuable. Quietly, I call these FMFs, or fuck me facts. You know, the kind of topics that elicit a response of, wow, fuck me, I had no idea that you could actually do that in Marketing Cloud. And at a time when social media, specifically user-generated content, is highly saturated, where authors are passing off ChatGPT content littered with hallucinations as their own work, video actually cuts through this level of noise and provides that level of authenticity that AI-generated content simply can't. And posting high quality, creative, well-timed, and most importantly, authentic content are always to stand out and get noticed. Well, hopefully you found these insights helpful. Over to you, Cameron.
Love it. Thanks, Elliot. All right, so good day, everyone. My name is Cameron Robert, and I'm a Marketing Cloud Solution Architect. I was first a customer for 5 years working at Flight Centre Travel Group here in Brisbane. I then spent about 2.5 years on partner side, and I'm now about 2.5 years deep into my journey at Salesforce as a Salesforce employee. I've been in the ecosystem since about 2015 when I first got my hands on Marketing Cloud, and I found that way back then, and I think Elliot and many of the MVPs on the call will attest to, documentation was pretty much the official documentation and Stack Exchange, and that was it at the time. I think, Elliot, we first met in 2017 at World Tour Sydney. I think that was right before you got MVP, right after. And it was actually a chat about MScript that got me thinking about, well, if there's people out there who know more than I do, maybe there's blogs, maybe there's writings, maybe there's videos out there that aren't on Stack Exchange, aren't being documented. And that kind of got me thinking. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that it was actually one of Greg Gifford and the How to SFMC community's very first call for writers that went out asking for solutions to how to build reusable templates, that I thought, you know what, I'll do a blog. And I started writing. And I found that writing was a great way to document my knowledge, document my learning. As Matthias said earlier, sometimes writing it down is the best way to find your own gaps, to find things that you didn't know, that until you actually sit down and write it, you go, oh, I didn't know that. And then, as Elliot said, it's like one of those F me moments. I now realize I can do this. I did start with blogs and writing, but I found very quickly that writing was a medium that I wasn't that comfortable with. And while it was good, I was taking so many screenshots that it wasn't productive. And so I transferred under the guidance of a colleague of mine at the time to try doing some YouTube videos. And not just YouTube videos talking about problems, but YouTube videos showing hands-on, screen sharing and really showing how to do the platform. And I found that was my go-to. Similar to Elliot, there's no videos you just do off the cuff. Videos are very meticulously planned out. Different to Elliot though, I don't write my entire script out word for word. I mostly bullet point and then go for gold. I have found that I'm far more comfortable talking about something on the spot than reading it out later on. So probably like Elliot, I do a lot of takes sometimes to get exactly the right flow and the right way of saying things. But when I do, it's usually a pretty good cut. And like Elliot said, it's also many, many hours of post-production to get it all together and publish that content. I found the video, like I said, was my go-to, but it's a hard one to start with. So probably to jump into my giveaway tips, starting with a channel that's most comfortable for you is the best place to get started. Find what's comfortable for yourself. If it's responding to posts on the Travelers community, if it's Stack Exchange, if it's even Slack groups, the How to SFMC Slack group, on the LinkedIn group, on the email gigs, on the How to SFMC, like any of them, you can jump on and start to respond to some questions and see what people are asking. And you'll find very quickly you can find out what the current trend of people's marketing cloud problems are. There's email studios, automations, integrations, data cloud, you'll find out very quickly. If you jump onto the next slide, my big tip for new starters is be known for adding that value. You'll find very quickly that what you know about Marketing Cloud is different to everyone else because your journey is different. Whether you're customer side, vendor side, or partner side, your journey is different to everyone else's. And I love that quote, one person's trash is another person's treasure. Well, one person's mundane, boring Marketing Cloud activities might be another person's struggle for today. That one thing they're trying to Google feverishly, they're resorting to ChatGPT to try and find out how to do it. Lo and behold, you've been doing this for years. So write it down. If it's on a blog, if it's on a WordPress, on a Medium post, start somewhere, write it down, and you'll find your groove. Once you find your groove, you can start to adapt to it. You can start to build upon it, and eventually you find your workflow. And that's when you can really start to up your content publications. The main thing is, again, be known for adding that value. And again, value is different. It does not mean inventing something new. You don't have to uncover gold that no one's done before. Value just means something that someone takes value from. I spend my hours synthesizing documentation, processes, ideas into a short video, which someone can then learn and get that concept quickly. And that's how I like to add value. Find your way and make that your value add. And I'll pass it over. Thank you.
All right, that was awesome. Thank you, Elliot, Cameron. Hi, everyone. My name is Shabu Abraham. I work with UST, one of the Salesforce partners. Based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I head the Salesforce practice for APAC. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 17 years, I would say. And I'm also one of the Salesforce MVPs and marketing champions. And I've been into content creation probably around like 4 or 5 years now. So I do blog, and I also have a YouTube channel, which is SFMC Trailblazers. And one of the reasons why I started making videos back in 2020 was that I couldn't find much content on Marketing Cloud. Like, I know, like, definitely Greg, Elliot, and a few others were still there. But beyond that, like, there wasn't too many content on Marketing Cloud. And it was like a black box to a lot of people since there were no free orgs back then. And then when I got to learn more about Marketing Cloud, I thought, okay, let me share whatever I could, like, based on my journey, like, because the people were asking, hey, how do I actually learn Marketing Cloud if I don't have an org? Like, and the one area within Marketing Cloud that I liked most that time when I was actually preparing for Email Specialist was the Automation Studio, right? So I said, okay, hey, there's a lot of things within Automation Studio that you can actually you probably will not know unless and until you've actually exposed to the tool. So that's when I created the series, and initially when I created the series, like I think many content creators here will agree, when you start for the first time, it's not that you're going to get the best hits in the first time. It takes time. People will probably come back and then they will see it at a later point in time, but don't worry about that at that point. And even when the pandemic came, we went fully virtual. That's when really our content channels, people started utilizing that more. So we started virtual boot camps back then, and now we've seen like a lot of boot camps here, like especially JB and team. They've actually most of the speakers here or content presenters here are speakers in some of these wonderful boot camps as well. So I'm always grateful to some of these wonderful content creators back then, especially Elliot, Greg, a lot of people, Ivan as well. I loved his blogs as well. So grateful to many of them who've inspired me as part of my journey for content creation. So next slide, Himanshu. Just share a couple of tips from my side. Something very similar to what Elliot and Cameron said as well. So preparing content is not very easy. And there's a lot of research you need to do. You need to try things out, and in the process you learn a lot. That was the key takeaway for me, at least because marketing was new to me at that point in time, even though I've been in the ecosystem for a long time. And every time we share, we're validating hey, what we're sharing is correct, because you're sharing it to multiple people. So it's very important that you understand hey, the accuracy of the things, and then anticipate some of the questions that may arise, from people who are actually looking at it, and then try to see hey, how would you apply this in different cases. So the more you share, definitely the more you learn. So don't stop trying to share the content. So please do go ahead, and when you share, always try to put your perspective. Don't just copy paste from somewhere. Identify what excited you most about the topic, something unique from your perspective that you found useful and wish to share with the community, right? Your content should be a little different from a normal help or a product content that's already out there. So that's when it adds value to the viewers. Okay? That's all I had from my side, and I'll pass it on to Lucas now. Thank you.
Thanks, Shibu. Great tips and great tips from everyone. First of all, very excited to be here amongst so many other great people. My name is Lucas Costa. I'm based out of Vancouver in Canada, so just over 11 p.m. here. I've been in the marketing cloud ecosystem for about 8 years now, working primarily on the consultant side for almost 6 and now over 2 years on the client side. I started creating content not very long ago. I started my blog SFMC Tips just over 2 months ago, but the articles that were posted in there were actually written a few years ago. And I think that goes to one of the questions that some other folks have answered, which is, what was my fear about? And very similar to some of the other ones, there was a fear of failure there, a fear of just putting yourself out there and maybe what will other people think? Maybe I'm not good enough to publish that type of content. So that fear was blocking me from, just putting my content out there. That changed about a couple of months ago when I decided to actually put the blog live. And I've realized that that fear was just useless, and I essentially wasted years there of potential, content creation. That there are people that are willing to listen, and the marketing cloud community has been such a great community to be a part of, because one, we know documentation is lacking everywhere, and the amount of people trying to learn the platform only grows. And yeah, if you don't mind flipping to the next slide, I have my tip for you is to always remember the questions you had when you started out Marketing Cloud. Don't take for granted the basics. While you know the basics, there's a lot of people that don't, and they're crazy and for content and hungry for content out there. So if you don't know where to start and you want to start with content, you start with the basics. And I'll pass it along to JB.
JB, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. Hi, everyone. This is Jyotsna Vitra. I go by the name JB. I have been in the ecosystem for Salesforce ecosystem for around 12 years now. And I am a Salesforce MVP, marketing champion, and a Golden Hoodie recipient. So I started creating the blogs a long time ago. I don't remember. It's sometime around 2017 or 18. So I used to create blogs and wherever I feel there is a gap, so some content is not available in that specific area, I started writing some blogs on that. And after creating some blogs, I felt video content is more connecting to the attendees, and we can share uh, more information through the video content than the blogs. So, and then I switched to create videos, but then I had the fear of what I have imposter syndrome, to be honest. So I used to have the fear of what is the information that I'm providing is not the best option. There are multiple ways to solve a problem, but there may be the optimal solution, but the solution that I'm providing may not be the optimal solution. So that's the fear that stopped me from creating the content for some period. But then being a user group leader, and I run the sessions, and I used to record every of the sessions that I speak or I host. So that way it pushes me to create the content on time. I am a great procrastinator. I as Cameron and Elliot mentioned, so we need to take we need to record multiple times to get the perfect content. The same way I used to record multiple times, not liking the content that I create, I used to go back and simply delete it. It never happened. So user group meetings, they gave me the push that the meeting will happen at time. So that way it is happening. So that way I recorded some of the sessions. And the other approach that I took is curating some of the content, curating the content that is created by some of the great experts in the marketing cloud ecosystem. So I've been collecting all the great blogs or the all video content and providing a place for the newbies to go and see where all the great information that they can get if they're getting started with the marketing cloud, or if they want to get some information about automation studio as Shibu created. So that is a place where they can go and get all the information at one place. That's how I also curated some of the content. And also co-creation is something which we can club up with other speakers and then create some videos. So these are all the different ways that I have been creating the content. And my biggest fear, as I said, it's the imposter syndrome. Whatever I do, I have a fear at the corner of my heart saying like this may be wrong, or this may not be the perfect way. But over the time I felt that we have to come off of the comfort zones to go to reach whatever we want to achieve. So whenever we're starting at a point, we won't be perfect. So we have heard Elliot and Cameron mentioning how much of a time they may be spending in creating the perfect video, but there's a lot of effort that goes behind the scenes. My tip to everybody in this session is to not wait until the perfect time. The first blog is not going to be perfect, or the first video is not going to be the best one. So when I go back to my blog and look at the first post that I have created or the first video that I have created, maybe I will laugh at myself, or I may find so many mistakes in the same blog or the video. So if we were to start when we get great, it's not going to happen. We have to start to be great. So start whatever you are, you start creating the content, and along the way, you you get to the perfection level, and you tend to be achieve that great video or the great blog. And I believe in the consistency. So whatever you're doing, whatever channel that you choose, consistency is the key that will help in providing the valuable content consistently. And with that, I will request Raffle to take it over.
Thank you, JB. So I'm Rafael Wolfsteniak. I'm in-house marketing cloud architect, developer, and a recent marketing champion. I have to say I'm honored to be here among so many legends and heroes of the community. And I'll start on a odd note and say that when I play online games, which happens rarely, I always gravitate to playing support characters. This might be an odd bit to you, but kind of explains why I later got into helping others on the Salesforce Stack Exchange. Nowadays, I consider this as the start of my creator journey, but it was also a way of kind of sharpening the saw, learning more about the platform, improving writing, and gaining the confidence to start my own blog, SFMC.quest. There I focus on the technical side of things, make deep dives into topics like list detective or finding strange things like retrieving data from deleted columns in data extensions, explore what can be done with Salesforce Marketing Cloud in bigger projects like, for example, playable unscripted versions of Wordle or tic-tac-toe. And then there are also share code snippets. What I really love about this community is that it really has been positive on the most sides, and I only really encountered constructive feedback, and that helped me to improve the content output out, like saying that, for example, the styling is off and it's a bit, but it was really helpful. And my bit of advice for anyone who wants to start sharing their knowledge is to try to reduce the friction as much as possible. Try to remove any obstacle that might be standing in the way of you writing or publishing your thoughts. I have two examples of this from my experience. You don't know what to write. That's normal. A blank page can be daunting. But there's something you can do that will help make it less challenging. Have a system to capture any ideas that you might have. I use Notion for this, with one page where I can easily put all my ideas that come to me when I'm commuting or working or doing God knows what. Your system can be as simple as a bulleted list, where you can add sub-levels with more details, sources of inspiration. For me, it could be also a question of tag exchange. You can add links to the documentation, a general outline of your post, article, video, or whatever you want to do. And when you later have the time, you can tend to this list, add more detail, create a short list of what you should write about, or simply just start creating the content. Maybe with a list like this, you will be able to see a pattern, combine the ideas later into one article, or start a new series. You'll figure out what works best for you. But do try to set up something where you can capture your ideas, whatever they are, and wherever you are. And in my experience, the second biggest point of friction that I had was my content management system, short CMS, which I selected first for my blog. I was first running the DocuSaurus platform that's also being used here by Mateusz and Ivan to great effect. But I do know that it was not the right platform for me. It was complex and technical, requiring me to read the documentation a lot if I wanted to customize it. Even then, I failed. And it might be hard to overcome some of its quirks and requirements regarding the content structure. And even something as simple as creating drafts of some of the content was kind of a chore here. So after some time, I decided that the friction wasn't worth it, and kind of even prevented me from starting to write the content there. So I did some soul searching and realized I needed something easy to use that can be divided into sections where the newest stuff is displayed first. Afterwards, I created a proof of concept page in WordPress, that I was happy with, and migrated all the content there. WordPress, it's supposedly the most used CMS, with reports saying it's like powers like 40% of the internet. So it might just work for you if you want to start. Yeah.
I think we can't hear you anymore, Raf. Okay, I think he's having internet issues. We will keep moving and come back to Raf. Ivan, over
All
to you.
right. Hello, guys. So it's my turn. My name is Ivan Razin. I'm a technical analyst at NG Electrabel in Belgium, which is an energy provider company. But you probably heard about me in the context of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. or you might be familiar with my two websites, amscript.xyz and ssgsdocs.xyz. So I've been writing articles since 2019, and I had the privilege to be a guest speaker all around the world at this point, including the US, Canada, Czech Republic, Singapore, Australia, of course. And I'm also a Marketing Cloud champion since 2021, and I'm a Salesforce Marketer Community Group leader in Belgium. So today, my number one tip is don't start a blog or a website for the wrong reason. So let me explain. So I see a lot of new bloggers popping up around the world, writing articles and start their own thing. And what I've been observing is that they would write a couple of articles and then just disappear into nature, right? Gone with the wind, let's say. And I believe that it happens because they have started writing for the wrong reasons. So in my many years as a blogger, I came to a few realizations that I'd like to share. The first one is that there's no real money to be made from blogging about Salesforce products, at least in my world, all right? So some other people in this panel might say otherwise, but in my experience, that's how it is. So, Salesforce as a whole is a very niche product. So if you want to make your wage thanks to Salesforce blogging, you're barking on the wrong tree, basically, because your audience will be measured in thousands, right, and not millions. So if you want to earn real money thanks to blogging, you're better off doing TikToks about making cheese in your garage, or if you're on YouTube, making videos for kids. That is it. So second point, blogging about Salesforce to advance your career, it can be useful and can get you, in my experience, only to the second round of a job interview or to, score some bonus points with your manager. So it's not really a good reason. I observed basically the same situation in some companies that force their consultants to pass certifications, right? So if your heart is not in it, your brain will not retain information, right? Forcing yourself to do something you don't enjoy and have no interest in, it's not sustainable in the long run. So you will do it for a while, but then you will just abandon and do something else. And the third, about the fame and bragging rights, because that's what people are doing that for sometimes. So it is true that as a blogger, you will be recognized. Your name will be recognized in the Salesforce community, but just keep in mind that being recognized doesn't really translate to real skill. For myself personally, I'm really far from being the best at Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I don't pretend to be the best professional in my field, but what I'm a grinder. So what I don't have in talent, I basically make up with hard work and dedication. So my point is, if you decide creating content about Salesforce and you want to keep doing it for a long time, do it just for yourself, do it for the community. Treat it as a hobby, not a job, not a career lift. Do it because you believe in Salesforce and Salesforce product and you want the product to succeed. And yeah, that's about it. So next up, Jörn.
Thank you, Ivan. Well, first off, before I intro myself, I fully agree. And that's actually also my tip. I didn't read yours on the slide. The passion is really the important one. As long as you say, hey, that's my passion, I want to share stuff, then keep doing it. As soon as it becomes work, probably want to stay away from it, because it's just too much work and not enough recognition or even money, right, to be worth it. But okay, with that said, hi, my name is Jörn Berkefeld. I am a marketing cloud architect with Accenture. I'm also a marketing champion since last year. And my main contribution, and that's why I became champion, and also I'm here, is Marketing Cloud DevTools, a tool to deploy stuff to business units. But I've also created a ESLint config for server-side JavaScript to make your life a little bit easier when you code in VS Code. And there's also a small blog called Marketing Cookbook, or rather SFMC Cookbook, that I started, I think, back in 2019. I did so, starting to share, because I saw that daily struggle that my team had. And I started working in Marketing Cloud in 2018, I believe, 2018, 2019. Before that, just Salesforce in general. And there was just not a lot of stuff there. So I had to work my way through the documentation and the gaps of the same, and come up with a good way of communicating the stuff that I found out to my team. And eventually just thought to myself, you know what, if my team needs that, then there's going to be other people out there as well. And it just felt kind of selfish to keep it to just a team of, I don't know, something between 2 and 20 people, right? And I noticed that there were a lot of good community contributions out there across all technologies. I came from standard web development before joining the Salesforce world. And there was this one guy that really inspired me, because John Papa is his name. He wrote a style guide for something called AngularJS. So for those that know web development, nowadays we have Angular version, I don't know. Back then that was version 1. And that really got me started, because that guide kind of taught me how to code myself in a better way that other people could actually understand and not get crazy about while reading it. And I just wanted to do something similar to that. So that's how I first started this cookbook blog. And pretty much at the same time also we started internally working on our other tool, but it took us another 2 years until I finally got that one published. Now, my content lives in GitHub mostly, but also here on LinkedIn and some of the Trailblazer groups, if they invite me to a call like this one, right? It lives there on GitHub and LinkedIn because that's where I'm at anyways. So I just never kind of expanded to WordPress or other ways of publishing content. Call me lazy. The things that inspire me the most, oftentimes the guys actually here in this panel, just by them writing good blog posts about new features, or even me finding a really old article from one of you guys, letting me understand certain features of Marketing Cloud better, and then I just want to dig deeper, and either I write a follow-up article on that one, or I just add a new feature to the tool to make it so much easier to use it. Because while Postman is a great tool to work with Marketing Cloud APIs, you still have to remember all those calls and manually change stuff. So that's why I like to make stuff a little bit easier there. But yeah, again, most of the stuff really triggered by the community. Sometimes I also get questions on the stuff that I've already done. And that then triggers me to rethink the whole thing or expand upon what I've done or written before. Like this one time when one of the guys here on the panel, I'm not going to say who, read my article on Einstein recommendation, nowadays a bit outdated, I suppose, and asked me, hey, how can we actually include this in what was it called? Oh, I don't remember the name. Something for how Google wraps these kind of tools. And I didn't know, but I figured, you know what? I might just need that anyways coming soon. And so I expanded that cut. So what I'm trying to say here is do take in all the comments from your readers, from your users, and see what they are passionate about. And if that triggers you to think like, hey, you know what? I'm interested as well, then spend time on it. Don't just publish because you want to publish another comment or post because, oh, wait, it's been another 2 days since I last published. That's not going to do it. That's just quality over quantity, and people will notice and just unfollow you eventually. Another thing that really drives my focus is actually my project work. So working as a Marketing Cloud architect and also part-time developer on all those projects, I just oftentimes get new challenges when I join a new team or a new project. And that then oftentimes really, really redirects my focus completely from what I've done before, makes me look at other features in the product very deeply, and then oftentimes the documentation confuses me, or the features are just not concise and bothers me too much, so that I just want to automate that. And then I either write a workaround piece for the team on how to do that. And once that's done, oftentimes I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that workaround. Let's actually automate it completely and add a new feature to the tool. So as my key takeaway for you, find your niche. For me, again, that was mostly coding. And then start creating, but only do so if it's your passion, coming back to what Ivan said. Whatever you do, your quality will increase, but in the beginning, it probably will be shit, let's be frank. But that's okay, right? And over time, you'll be better and better at this. And hopefully you will remember to then not just post because of posting, but because you really think that the thing that you're posting is valuable. So, yeah. And with that, over to Manish.
Thanks, Jon. Hope you can hear me. Hi, this is Manish, known as SFMC Fanboy. I'm a Salesforce MVP and marketing champion for 5 years now, from 2020 onwards. I work as a solution architect and delivery head at CPR Vision, based in Singapore, but I'm currently moved to Hyderabad recently, India. I've been working on Marketing Cloud for the past 8 years or so, from 2017 onwards, But prior to that, I was on working as well with Salesforce Core Cloud, like sales service. So overall, my Salesforce experience is around 15 years. So when and why did I decide to start writing content, right? So back then, even before my Salesforce blog, back in 2009 and 2010, I used to have my own private notes. So it was a private blog that I started. I used to write my personal notes and stories. Then once I started my job, I made it as a technical blog. Then every day, whenever, let's say, while I was working with Salesforce Core Cloud, whenever I had issues, I used to go and Google for some particular topic. And if I didn't find it, then the next destination was to find it on Stack Exchange. I used to ask questions there, a lot of questions there. And if there's a lot of people active on that. So whenever there was an answer for that, so to make a note of that particular issue that I faced, I used to put it into a blog. So that's how, again, it was still my personal blog. Then after that, I used to write more content. Then when it became a bit of, people started to ask questions on Stack Exchange. So instead of writing the same story again, I made my blog as a public one. Then I used to give the links to those who had the same issue. So that's how my blog journey has started. I used to write a lot of things on Salesforce Core Cloud. From 2017 onwards, I moved my career into Marketing Cloud. So that's when same story. If I didn't find any blog or anything of an issue that I'm facing on, I used to go to Stack Exchange. A lot of these writers here, content writers here, used to post there. I used to follow them, get questions. So if that content was not available as a blog post, only then I would convert it into a blog post and post it there. Just as a personal notes, again, in any of these or anywhere, even then I started to answer all these questions also. So that's how my blogging career started. So nowhere I'll put my original name. So it's always SFDC Fanboy, that's the alias. I think that's also one of my fears, that I don't like to give my identity easily, because I just don't want that someone to judge me, or it's not that I don't like that that fame or anything like that. So it's always SFDC Fanboy. So whenever I answered questions or anywhere, even on my blog post, the about me page was always blank for almost like 10 to 12 years. Only like few years ago, I had to put some face behind this. So about me page came up, and then I told who I am in that sense. So even if I go out in public or anywhere, so no one really notices me, that's fine with me. That's how I wanted it to be. So always it's Manish is behind the scenes, behind the background. So because the purpose of writing this is purely for my own purpose, I didn't want it to be a core, didn't want it to be a public site as such. So that's how my entire blog journey has been. But once I started writing into it, slowly I've moved into certification courses as well. So because there's a lot of content missing as such, not so it's purely based on demand. So there were a lot of comments asking like, can you give some topic on certification course, right? So that's how I switched some of my blogging into certification courses. Again, with blogs, I had some limitations of creating the content in such a way that it has to have some sections, subsections, like chapters and all that. So that's why I moved my content style into a certification course. I've published at least 4 courses on three certification courses on Udemy, because again, I didn't want to create on a new platform and everything, a lot of effort. So I used an existing platform Udemy, and I published courses on there, marketing cloud, email specialist. I also put that content. It's not just on Udemy. If it's worth putting it on my blog in a presentable way, I put some of the content also on my blog. So most of the stuff is similar on Udemy versus what's on my blog post as well. Only if it's really needed, it needed a platform or a particular presentation style, then I used to put it on Udemy. Otherwise, everything I put it on my blog post itself. So coming to the tip that I wanted to share was, again, a lot of fears that also people share, like imposter syndrome is very common one that all of us face. That is one fear. For me was the identity. So I try to hide myself from public. So that's my fear. In terms of the tip or the common mistake that I would say people do is you should not compare with other content creators, because you have to have your own style of writing. You cannot compare with someone who does frequent writing, right? If your writing style, for example, my writing style is certification courses, I take at least 3 to 4 months to prepare an entire certification course, because I need to prepare the content, the slides, you need to record videos, you have to record your screens, there are screenshots, and you also have to prepare some practice tests. So it takes at least 3 to 4 months of my time to prepare one certification course, right? Whereas in this duration of time, probably some other might be published, have already published 10 to 20 articles. So never compare your style or your article or to other content creators, right? So it's purely their own way of styling. So identify your style, identify what's working for you and what you're most comfortable with, whether it's 1 minute video or YouTube video or quick tips, long blog post. Someone likes to write long stories with a lot of screenshots and videos. So identify what's your content style, then go with it. You need not copy, or you need not worry whether okay others are doing in other way and they're getting more views. So it's not about views or anything, right? So it's what you are trying to do with your blog post. What's your main purpose? That's one Cameron also said. What's the main purpose? What's your real reason for writing this blog or starting this your content style, right? So go with it, enjoy the time, forget about the other stuff that you get as part of your journey. So it's not a career thing that you have to focus on. It should be there should be a passion for writing it. So I've been writing this for almost like 15 years. Few months maybe I may be ideal because of some other reasons, but because as long as you have that passion, it keeps going. Yeah. That's all from my side. Thanks.
Thanks, Manish, and for sharing that and passing it on. When Harishma first mentioned that he's going to run this, I thought I wouldn't participate, but the more I thought about it, it just felt like this would be a good idea, and I might have something I could share back to the community. Won't take too long. When I first shared to a group of people, I was just so nervous, and I felt like what I had to offer would not be of value. My heart was pumping out of my chest, and this is long before I got involved in the Salesforce community. It's just, I really found that hard. And I just found over time, the more I did it, the more it became natural. And I've got to a point now where I can just open my mouth and something will come out. Hopefully it makes sense, but I don't have that fear. So that imposter syndrome for me was just such a big thing. Everyone's talked about that. When starting, some of the groups and blogs and things I've been involved with, a lot of them have failed. So many just haven't worked out. But you've got to try stuff, because if you don't try stuff, you ain't going to work out what works. I can remember when we started the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Developers Group on LinkedIn, thinking, oh, I'll give this a go, see if anyone's interested. And I think there's 19,200 members on that today. We could have easily not done that, but you know, got to try stuff. If you don't try stuff, it just doesn't work. You can't have the wins. I suppose the wins got to come with the fails. Why? Personally, I 100% believe that sharing content is a really sustainable strategy for everyone to reduce risks and minimize uncertainty for everyone else, and ourselves included, because we make sense of the world from what we discover and see. And that sharing is how we make sense of things that we're looking at. That's just something I believe in 100%. Why do it? Do it for yourself. Do it so that you've got documentation about what you need. Do it because you enjoy it. I think Ivan was saying that. Do it because you want to do it. Don't do it for any other reason. I think somebody else mentioned you're not going to make any money doing it. Do it because it's part of what you want to do. I've got a few blogs. One's a small side project that I do. It's called Influencer Tips. I do a lot of blogging around community engagement there. Go and have a look. I blog on my blog with my work, which is at Data Flow Marketing, and I share answers to questions that clients have in posts. So when I respond to a question in an email, I think, okay, how can I do this so that it could be a bigger thing that I could share an answer to? That's one of my strategies. Contents, blogs and videos, contents, the stuff we share on socials, what we share in community groups, what's on GitHub, contents, programs, scripts, it's all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be the traditional stuff. And start easy. I think that's the last one I've got there. And if you've got the tip up yet, pop the tip up and have a plan to consistently record and share genuinely authentic 1-minute videos on YouTube with your network. I reckon that these days is about the easiest thing to do. A 1-minute video is 140 words. It's going to take a couple of takes and a bit of practice to get it right. But you could take the transcript of that and put it into ChatGPT or GenAI and come up with another post, and you can snowball your authentic content to all sorts of other formats. That's multimodal. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working with people to do that, and it works. It 100% works. It works for me even. So I've got some stuff there on the Influencer Tips blog about that, and I'll share it on the post that we do for this presentation. Thanks everyone for listening along. Oh, and whilst we're just chatting, I can see 3 people have signed up just in whilst we've been on this presentation. 3 people have signed up to the blog. So yeah, having a blog, call to action, you get people's emails, you can talk to them again. Really powerful concept. So if you want to get involved with the blog, just reach out and we'll help you get there. Thanks. Sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt, and thank you all. We are nearly at time, so I won't take too much time. I once again want to thank all the panelists. This was an amazing event, much more than what we initially thought that we'll be able to achieve. I understand that there's different time zones as well, so thank you all for being available. I know some of you have another event to go to right next to this one. Some of you haven't been feeling well, but still here sharing your knowledge with everyone. I think that you've inspired quite a few people today. And when this goes on YouTube, I think there'll be another avalanche of that happening as well. Do we have any questions from the chat? Lakshmi, Matt?
There has been a discussion that I can see people have been sharing URLs for different things. So please keep sharing those and we'll get them onto the post. So we'll do a post on sfmcdg.org for this presentation, which will have the video and a summary of it. So we'll get those links in there as well.
Sure. Yeah, we'll collect all those and have it all in one place for everyone to reference as well. Awesome. I think Paramita, did you have a question?
Yeah, maybe it's just a silly question, but I am quite new. I love to create content, maybe, I have created some videos and stuff. I just do it for my fun. And I really believe sharing knowledge increases knowledge, whatever you have mentioned actually. And I just wanted to know, like, sometimes I want to share a lot of things, but I have some limitations because I don't have training org. Like, is it possible to have training org? How much it costs? I have to contact Salesforce for that, or if anyone knows anything.
Can I answer that question, or just get
Yes.
a
Yes,
refinement on that question? The training that you're asking about, what sort of training are you interested in?
like, because I am working in a company, so I cannot disclose a lot of things. Like, sometimes, like, we have like production unit and all. I cannot disclose a lot of thing. We cannot. So, but if I get a training, or probably I'll surely I'll be able to show a lot of things like automation and journeys. So many things I'll be able to show. So for that, like,
Yeah, for Marketing Cloud, they're not available at the moment, but there are ways of getting access. So maybe just ping us afterwards. If you want limited access to do something with, that could possibly be arranged. We just need to work that out. But you don't need to. I'm just going to say it. You don't need to share screen grabs about how to do stuff. You can share user stories and diagrams of how stuff works too. So there's lots of options there.
diagrams, yeah,
Re-
screenshot, yeah.
Stories are always good. So
Yeah. Thank you
yeah,
so much. Yeah.
but reach out afterwards, and we'll try and hook you up with somebody that can provide an org where you can do some screen shares.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we are right on time. I will stop sharing. We are on time, but I see there might be more discussions that are happening. So the event is officially over. But if you'd like to stay back and have any other questions answered, please feel free to do so. We probably will keep it for another few minutes. And thank you, everyone. I think I'll just add to what Paramita was saying. Having like a training for being a content creator as well. I think that's what you touched on. That's something that is not available, and that's the reason why we are here. That's why all these amazing people have been able to share from their heart and make us understand that they go through the same ups and downs, same fears. So I guess there are tips and tricks that you can take from this entire video, and that is probably a good starting point. And you also mentioned, obviously working with client data, so you don't want to be sharing it. Absolutely, don't do that. But you can always blur things around in your screenshots. Don't share any client credentials. Don't share anything that could get you into trouble. Just some common sense stuff there. But yeah, if there is enough interest, and please come back to our SFMC DG side, provide all the input there. We might keep running this, and we can probably hone into some of the specifics as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for arranging this meeting. I'm really feeling so motivated looking at all Legends people. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Another good tip there is just to have a plan. Don't make it overwhelming, but just have some sort of plan. So one thing you can do is say, I had a client once ask me, how can I get more reach on the internet? And I said to her, then you just have to post daily. No way I can post daily. I said, then how about thinking about a plan where on a Monday you have a long form, on a Tuesday you provide a tip, on a Wednesday you do this and you do that. And she thought about it and then started doing it. And 3 years later, I think she's got 2,500, 3,000 posts done. And the long tail of Google search hits on her website, organic hits, is just incredible. And she's built up community too in her community. It's not Salesforce, but just having that plan and having an easy to do plan. Just have, if each week you want to share a tip, just share a tip.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can always build up. Like you start easy and then build up. Don't try and do everything and try and be everything, because it'll never work.
Yeah, I was reflecting on some of my notes from the speakers, and something that Cam said, I think it resonated quite well for me, which is you write to document and you write for yourself. So that's something that I do quite a bit as well. So I always think when I'm documenting something, what will the next year me benefit from this particular document? If I come back next year and read this, will I be able to get everything out or not? Have I covered all the whys, all the hows in my document? And that becomes a pretty good document to share to others as well.
Yes.
And that becomes another topic. You can document about how to document. So there's lots of different styles of documentation. So you could document about how you document, which could be a topic to document about documenting.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. Great. Is there any more questions? If there's no more questions, I know some of us are burning the midnight candle to say. Ivan, you're like in the nearly midnight time as well. Ivan, sorry, I keep mispronouncing with my US pronunciation. Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you everyone for attending. Thanks again to all our panelists. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you sharing your heart out. And hopefully there'll be more of these. If there's more interest, we'll continue to bring more of these sessions for you in the future as well. Thanks all.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.